How's the club doing?
Doing really well.
We're recording
Good.
here.
Yeah.
We have a new member, and I haven't gotten her application, but Head of Membership brought a new girl in, and she's got another one she's working on.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, there was a community that needed a Kiwanis club.
Yes, they did. Those children are high poverty level. They really did.
There's Carolyn. Well, you got 45 people on. Woo-hoo.
Yeah, nice attendance tonight.
Yeah.
Hey, there are three of us here from Las Cruces. I don't know, on Ed's side on. So you got 48.
Very cool.
48. It's going up fast. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. You got to subtract one for Tony and Don because, you know, just because. I see 2 in BK, so BK and L are there. So I guess we're at 49.
Well, you know, John, Ken, John was talking about graduate school in 72. He was military intelligence. That means he graduated grade school in 72.
No, we covered your end.
I know, I know.
No one's going to get any respect from the colonel.
Not a Navy
Sergeant
spouse
Major.
for
And you
sure.
know what, Don? If I wasn't here, you'd miss me.
I know. Are we ready, Ken?
Yep, it's up. The PowerPoint's ready to go
I
whenever
think I saw
Tony
Betsy's
says
here.
go.
What is it?
Well, wait a minute, Tony. I want to start off with Betsy. Betsy, I see you on board. You want to go ahead and start?
Sure, happy to do that. Hello, I'm Betsy Hemphill. I am with the Los Alamos Kiwanis Club in New Mexico, Division 3, maybe, yes, or District 3, or I'm still learning all of the terminology. Good, I have 3s from Don and Ken, so perfect. So Don asked me to talk a little bit about why young people should join Kiwanis and how to get younger individuals to want to join your club. So I'm not that young, I'm 35, but I am younger than the average Kiwanian. So I will give you my experience. And if all of our clubs could get more 35-year-olds, the mean age would definitely decrease across the Kiwanis in the Southwest District. So that's what we're working towards. So my 2 overarching themes are time and money. Those are the 2 things that we care the most about. Time, we don't have a lot of it. A lot of younger adults have kids and other obligations and are a part of other PTAs and classroom help and also working full-time jobs. So having a list of all of your upcoming service projects, that can be very helpful. If they just go to the website, they can come to a service project and join if they can't make a meeting. If they do come to a meeting and you can say, hey, you know, we're going to be serving next weekend or in 2 weekends, that can kind of hook them. We don't always have a lot of time to sit around for the 4 hours each month for the 1-hour meeting. But if you said, hey, there's a 4-hour service project coming up, we would most likely rearrange our schedules and get there. So it's not that we don't value the fellowship aspect of Kiwanis. It's really just prioritizing if there's a service project over the Kiwanis meeting, you know, which is the bigger bang for our buck. And we want to go out and help the kids. So having lots of service projects is my first recommendation. And we are in a fairly affluent area, but we are surrounded in Los Alamos. We are surrounded by many areas that have much more need than Los Alamos. And our biggest service projects that all of the key clubbers love to help out with are the ones that expand to the other communities. So looking beyond your community and seeing where are the kids that need the most help, where are the communities where you can help the most. Again, then you're going to have volunteers who want to go help those. Another consideration, oh, sorry, that was time. Then the money. Coming out of college, grad school, we are always tight on money and concerned about it. And so, you know, if you relax the dues, I came from being a Key Clubber and Circle K member. So I had due forgiveness for the 2 years, which was really helpful when Doug said, hey, you want to join? And it's going to be free for 2 years. So I was like, sure, why not? And then once I'm a part of it, I want to stay. I don't want to go now that I have to pay money. And so again, not having that barrier initially where they're like, well, couldn't I just serve without having to pay money? You know, just kind of getting that barrier out of the way if you can give some sort of subsidy or discount for new members. Two other bullet points I have are just consider relaxing the meetings. Our meeting is very relaxed, and as I said, I came from Key Club and Circle K so I was always going to be a lifelong Kiwanian. I wouldn't consider anything else. But if someone walks in and you're addressing, you know, President Steve, and you send them your bylaws and say, these are all of our rules, that can be really intimidating. And so, you know, take it from an outsider's point of view. Is it going to feel opening and welcoming when they come in? Or are they going to be confused about you know, what's going on? What is the jargon? The Amplify program, Nilda, I see you're on here. I don't know if you're caught up. Last week they talked about, you know, really having a list when you do throw around LTG and decon and icon, having a list for potential members so that they know what you're talking about and they're not sitting there just like, well, I don't know what the heck is going on in this club. So that's something from Amplify. Thank you, Southwest District, for sponsoring me. I am sharing that with you now. I was asked my first year, after being there for a year, to join the board of directors. Honestly, it is such a low time commitment and you learn so much about the club. It's less time and energy than actually being on a committee or being a committee chair. So although it sounds intimidating, joining the board of directors, I think is, you know, one of the best ways to get a new member involved in the club and really committed to now wanting to take on more responsibility. And then last thing I will say came from Anna, who will be the new Division III Lieutenant Governor coming in October. She is at the Las Vegas Sunrise, and she mentioned that they invite young professionals to speak at all of their meetings. And then they say, oh, and you know, we'd love to have you join. They're the Sunrise Club, so they know the schedule can work for them and say, we'd love to have you come join us, do our service. Again, they have the list of service projects. So it's very easy to kind of hook them by saying, you're doing exactly what we want, and get them on board. I think I'm at 6 minutes and Dawn gave me 5. So I'm going to
Thanks,
silence for a minute.
thanks, Betsy. We need more Betsy's is what we need. Thanks, Betsy. Our next speakers are Kathleen, the Navy spouse from Pacific Northwest. She's our Region 4 membership chair, and I harass her all the time, but she's a super lady, and I call her all the time for advice too. And then Tony's gonna be with her in this part, the governor-elect. Okay, you guys ready? You're muted, Kathleen.
Ken, are you going to share the slides on screen? Wonderful. So today we're going to talk a little bit about focusing on membership with single purpose clubs. So keep in mind that this was put together by the subcommittee on new clubs, but all of the models that we created can also be used in an existing club. And we're finding that coming out of the pandemic, many clubs have lost their identity. So some of these models may be good ones to look at to strengthen your club. Next slide. So this is just the group that's in this is my subcommittee. that works on these things. It's like herding cats to work with this group. Some very, very brilliant minds. And we've put out a lot of great material. So if you haven't been on the Kiwanis.org website and look under Subcommittee on New Clubs, there's a great deal of information that our group has put together. Next slide. So why the single purpose clubs were created? My subcommittee had put together, oh, thanks, I saw you, Brad, absolutely. So my club had put together it's a 40-page document on how to open a new club. What our goal was when Danielle and Art asked us to form this group, our goal was to standardize the way we open clubs across the United States and Canada, because each district was doing something different. So what we did is we took a multitude of material, not just from our own districts, but we took stuff back from Together Achieving Growth. Remember any of you that are old tag team members? Remember the Black Reveal stuff, Formula, Eye of the Tiger. We just took a multitude of material and tried to make a document that made sense for everyone else. So after we finished that document, they said, well, why don't you guys start creating some single purpose clubs so that we can maybe engage potential members by using a different kind of focus. Next slide, please, Ken. So why form one? So single purpose club immediately gives the club a new direction and focus. Causes aren't necessarily limited to a geographic region. It can be from all over. You can do a virtual club. And it also makes recruiting easier by targeting potential members who are inclined to focus or support that cause. So next slide. Well, this is stuff I go to. I don't always read from them. So next slide. So you could say I kind of covered that stuff already. So the first one we started, or not, we actually simultaneously worked on a couple of them. And a literacy club, and there was one that was formed in Southern California. But when we focused ours, we used material that past international president Tom DiGiulio used in his year, and it was championed by the Young Children Priority 1 group. So it's was just some great material on how to reach the lower levels and get them interested in literacy at a younger age. But then we found out that a literacy club could focus on many ages and groups. So next. So it could be things like reading books to kids. You can do this after school over the internet. You can do a video recording of a book. You can upload it to YouTube to share. Of course, you've got to watch trademarks on some of this stuff, but they can be shared with old organizations. There's a gentleman from Georgia that does reading with Daryl, and he gets on there and he reads a book and he puts that out on Facebook. And then providing books to kids. So this group might be a group that decides to partner with Kiwanis or Scholastic or one of the other literacy groups to provide books for kids that could not afford them otherwise.
Hey, Kathleen.
Yes.
This is Brad real quick. I was just going to interject. We had a club at the beginning of the pandemic, or a club we were working on in Venus, Texas,
Right.
a Dallas suburb, and they actually got there. It was a school superintendent was sort of the guy spearheading the thing, and he got the mayor, the fire chief, the police chief, all to read, record stories from their profession and everything. And it took us from 8 to 17 members. So, and then we arranged for the books to be left on the front vestibule of the superintendent's office and for pickup, and then advertise that through the Facebook page and all. So it can really be a boost to club opening.
Absolutely. And there are clubs that specifically focus on literacy. So, and again, a lot of that stuff, there's just so much material out there. You just have to do the research. And then we looked at area clubs. So an area club is a virtual club that's available for anyone interested in Kiwanis. So I'll give you an idea. You have a bunch of adults that have parents of adults that have challenges. And maybe they would like to join a Kiwanis club, but they are caretakers. So perhaps they create a club that's unified around that particular cause. An area where, another one that we talked about is, say you have an area with declining membership. I'll give you an idea in the PNW. We have specific areas around Victoria that don't have clubs for miles and miles. So we're looking at creating an area club that can capture some of these clubs that are under charter strength and allow that club to still function while we work on strengthening areas there. And then maybe a large metropolitan area, or this came up, we have some people that are in rural areas on our team, and they came up with the idea of we've got a rural area and there are a lot of needs and there might be 4 little communities next to one another. So why not bond as a group? And if your areas are too far apart, you could choose to meet virtually and then meet with people maybe once a quarter. And Nilda, yes, this PowerPoint can be shared. So types of projects for an area club. What would appeal to your prospective members? So you're not kind of like pigeonholed into one area. You can, what fits the needs of your particular area club? Maybe you can do one that specifically works on sponsoring service leadership programs. People that can do projects with just small groups can be adopted by a virtual club. So there are just so many ways to do this type of thing. Next slide. So then we focused on LGBTQ clubs, and we had we did a lot of research on this one because in this day and age, especially with DEI being first and foremost and front and center, we're realizing there are a lot of youth that that are facing things like homelessness, bullying, mental health issues, that leads to things like sex and drug abuse because they don't have an outlet or an avenue or people to talk with. So that what we looked at was clubs for identify individuals that support and the LGBTQ spectrum. So allies, families, friends, supporters of LGBTQ youth. And I'm actually working on a club just like that in Portland. And we reached out to members of FLAG and a group that really works with LGBTQ youth in rural areas around Portland. And that's how we're putting together a club there. And basically what we're looking at doing is creating an inclusive, diverse, and safe supportive group so that these underserved youth have someone they can talk to while we're still promoting the objects of Kiwanis. And I have a question. If we can take the questions at the end, that would be great. Okay, the purpose of an LGBTQ club is obviously to promote awareness, social awareness. Next. And to partner, again, I mentioned other organizations, maybe do some fundraising together, promote awareness. And there is a guide that goes through this. So if you look at our guide, you'll find more information. And then maybe to start your own program. You might find that in your community, especially in a rural community, that's a taboo subject. And there's no current service that's offered to those youth. And just like an area club, there's no geographic boundary for this type of club. Thank you, Ken. Next slide. I'm trying to stay on time so the Colonel doesn't cut me off. Tony's going to tackle this one because Tony was actually one of the people that spearheaded this.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tony, your governor-elect for next year, and I'm very happy to be working with Kathleen and with the new club opening subcommittee. So to get started with the food insecurity, what is it? Well, food insecurity is a lack of reliable resources and access to good food. Now let's face it, you don't have to be out in the middle of nowhere to be in food insecurity. You can be right around the corner from a Circle K or whatever that sells only Twinkies and sodas. So I mean, it's the same thing. And how do you begin with starting a food insecurity club? Well, it's not only for beginning a new club, and opening one, but it's also a great way for a service project for clubs that are existing that are looking for something to do. So the first thing you want to do is to look for advocacy, education. You want to find out what's going on with all of the area and all this stuff. You want to find out with partnerships and fundraising. There are places that you can go ahead and file for grants, apply for them to help you out. And also you want to partner. Now, we're partnering already with another group right here in Division 13 with a community garden. With community gardens, it's not only are you supplying good, bountiful food for the area, for the community, but it's also a living laboratory because we're working with our SLPs to make this work. And I'm not just saying key clubs, but also builders clubs, along with action clubs and whatnot. I mean, our Kiwanis family is all working together to make a community garden going. And also, it's not just community gardens, but it can be working in a food bank, food drives, backpack programs, mobile pantries, and all that. So there is a lot of things that we can do to help, fight food insecurity. Next, please. And that'll be for Kathleen. You're muted.
I'm trying to get the mute button up. So, and Brad and Tony, feel free to chime in on this because I know you two have been in on a little bit of this discussion. So we have actually completed a model for intergenerational clubs, and it is one of the coolest models ever. And what we've done is we've partnered with Dylan Kalkhurst, who is a renowned speaker on multi-generation or intergenerational activity. He's actually spoken at both of the Orlando conventions, the most recent one and the one way back when right after I joined Kiwanis. And so we worked on it as a model, and it'll help you with teaching you ways to work with different generations. And we've got it split into 5 generations. I think it's 5, right, Tony? Got it split into 5. And then to tell you a little bit about how they work and what works for them. For instance, Dylan told us when he joined his Kiwanis club in Overlake, Florida, that they had a faction of younger people and they didn't want to be on the board. They didn't want to go to meetings, but this club happened to have money. And they said, well, what if we give you $20,000? What would you do with that money? And this group actually found some wonderful organizations. Some were food insecure that they could work with and contribute. So one of the things that sticks out the most, and Brad, interject if you like, is that the younger generation does not want to be on a board of directors or go to a heck of a lot of meetings, but they'll roll up their sleeves and get out there and do a service project. You're going to see some amazing videos. The group is working on some videos right now on best practices for these 2 groups. And those are going to be introduced no later than July, before the next training for the next group of membership chairs. So it'll be, I think it's the last week in June and the second week in July, there'll be webinars. Then we're doing best practices for involving former educators. And Brad was actively involved in that discussion today. And we have compiled a large group. It's not just our committee, but we are actually researching with a lot of other people to figure out who could be involved in that. And there are just so many directions we can go in. So stay tuned for that. And then we're going
One thing there, Kathleen.
Go ahead,
One thing I was
Jasper.
just going to interject is when I did some research a couple of years ago, only 10% of our faculty advisors, the SLPs, are a member of a Kiwanis club. And that's largely because we meet at breakfast or lunch when they can't get away. But now that a lot of clubs are doing Zoom, or at least in a hybrid format, perhaps they can join from their classroom or from the teacher break room or whatever like that. So I think there's huge opportunities for even maybe an e-club for a district to pull together of all those folks. Just imagine a K-Kids advisor talking with an Action Club advisor and a Key Club advisor. Good synergy.
Exactly. So you may have a large group of SLP service leadership program advisors. It is the kiss of death for those of us who do presenting, right, Brad? If we are not allowed to use acronyms. So I'm glad that they're telling you that in Amplify, because I really watch myself on acronyms. But I will tell you, one of the other groups we're working on is a single emphasis for charity clubs. Because a lot of times we live in a community and we have people who donate all the time. The local butcher, the local hardware store, the pet store might give you a basket, and the local vet. And they don't want to join the club, but perhaps they want to donate X amount so we could create a single purpose charity club for a group. We have 2 large internet charity clubs. One's based in Indiana, one's based in PNW. Both of them are at 45 and 54 members respectively that have been really successful, but we're going to try to do one on a smaller scale. So these are the resources. When you go to Kiwanis.org and you see club opening, you'll see club opening resources, and you'll see prepared by the subcommittee on new clubs, and under there's the single emphasis clubs, and you'll see a lot more added in there in the next coming month. And we'd encourage you to visit those and take a look at them. And if you have any questions, reach out to Tony or to me, or Brian Tenslinger is our area director for your area, and we'd be glad to answer them. And someone had asked, I think it was Nilda, had asked if the PowerPoint's available. Tony has it and Ken has it, and you are welcome to have this PowerPoint. And so do we have time for questions, Don, or you want to wait till the end of the meeting?
I'm going to get BK, and then we'll have a panel meeting of all you guys that have talked, and people can ask questions. Thanks, Kathleen.
Governor, can I say something real quick?
Yes.
So anybody who wants this PowerPoint right now, type your name into type your email address into the chat. I have an email ready to go. I'll send it out at the end of the meeting. I'll grab your emails as you put them in there. Thank you, sir.
Way to go, Ken.
Okay, BK, you ready?
I'm ready.
Go ahead, sir.
I was asked to speak today on membership. It's actually a fairly complex topic that takes the simplest way to do it is to subdivide it into smaller areas and discuss those in detail. But I will start by saying that what Betsy gave, I would echo. She was right on target and covered most of the important things. The first thing you need to do in looking for somebody is think about the member you're trying to find. You need somebody, as she said, that has the time to commit, somebody that has the ability to have the finances. And part of what we're talking about on time has been covered by several today. If the person's working, it's going to be very difficult for them to break free and do what to join the club. The ideal people to look for is your Key Club or CKAI, but it's normally going to be later in life, because as soon as they leave that and they're out on their own, a lot of them are trying to establish a family. They're trying to establish a new job. They're trying to do something to get going independently. And while they're doing that, it's very challenging to join something like Kiwanis and do an honest effort. One of the areas I've always focused on are young retirees that now have the skill level, the ability to give back, and the finances and the commitment of time. The person that you want is somebody that's flexible. When I was governor, one of the things I noticed when I went down to Sierra Vista is at that particular time, 10 years ago, their club was almost exclusively, except for 6 individuals, made of women. And you might wonder, why would you want a club solid women? They were very, very impressive. Who better takes care of children? Who better knows the needs of children? And they were dynamic, and I'm sure they still are, or Don wouldn't be there in the club to go out and serve the community. The best way to start a membership drive is, and I don't advertise any particular computer program, but get on the computer and look at a map, spread it out about 2 miles, put it on satellite view, find out what kind of businesses and what kind of area you have around where you meet, and then go out with 2 members, try blind calling, and walk up and try to sell Kiwanis. The way you sell Kiwanis is if you got your Kiwanis shirt, you wear it and you go in prepared to talk. I've heard too often people talk about an elevator speech, and 99% of the people haven't got a clue of what they're doing when they give their quote unquote elevator speech. The last thing somebody wants to hear is Kiwanis is an international organization out there to help children, and we're in so many countries. That doesn't hit anybody's hot button. What you want to do is talk about what made Kiwanis important to you. You want to talk about that one significant project that you do. You want to talk about something, and you want to keep it down to a minute or two and have them asking you questions. The example I could give you is if somebody asks me about Kiwanis, our key program, and we don't know the status of it right now, was Kids Day at the Fair. And Kids Day at the Fair, we have a captive audience of disabled children, and the fair closes down one morning, and we have 3,000 kids in wheelchairs that don't get out normally during the entire year, except to come there, where they go to the petting zoo, they have the carnies volunteer their time, and we feed them. And I guarantee you that will let people start asking you and want to know more about Kiwanis, rather than saying it's a worldwide organization. And I recommend strongly, we had a Kiwanis meeting today, so I have my Kiwanis shirt on. Go out and wear your Kiwanis shirt the entire day of your Kiwanis meeting or your Kiwanis event. And when somebody asks you what's Kiwanis, or if they come up to you and say, hey, I used to be in Kiwanis, then take that as an invitation that they want to hear more. As far as and having speakers, make sure, as Betsy said, that you invite your speakers to be a member. Invite people to hear a exceptional speaker that when you're inviting them, or invite them, as she said, to a service project. And you need to sell your club. And the way you sell your club is twofold. Number one, tell your club that you're bringing a potential member. And at that point, prepare them to welcome the member, not shun them, not keep them not informed. And you also want to have an introduction for that new potential member and make them feel worthy, make them feel like they have something to contribute. Be aware of what they have and explain that to your other members. And lastly, and most importantly, you want to follow up. You've got to be able to recontact that potential member and say, hey, I wanted to know if you had some questions, or as Betsy said, we got a service project coming up and we want to be able to utilize you at that. And so you can see what we do with hands-on. And then lastly, I would say that we have a member on this call right now who is very active, and she's exactly what I talked about, a retired school teacher. And she has begun a satellite club in the Levine area. And it is just a bunch of teachers and volunteers, and they're excited. We've got free book libraries where we're putting in books for kids to read. We are staying extremely busy. I take off my hat to Liz Duncan. She's brought in 7 new members already to her satellite, and she just gave us at our meeting today additional membership applications. These are people that are excited. They've been able to establish themselves in an occupation, in a living, and they're ready to go. They're ready to give back. And with that, that's a bird's eye view of what membership is about.
Thanks, BK. Ken, do you want to go ahead and go through the questions, and whoever they're for can answer them?
Yeah, let me type this real quick. So I have sent everybody the PowerPoint. So if you didn't get it, let me know. And I have uploaded it to our Google Drive. There's the link to it. You guys can grab the PowerPoint off of that link. And if you need that link again after this meeting's over with, no problem. Just send me an email. I'll get it to you. So let's see. So Kathleen, PowerPoint share, how many people? 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 11. 12. 13. 14. 15. 16. 17. 18. 19. 20. 21. 22. 23. 24. 25. 26. 27. 28. 29. 30. 31. 32. 33. 34. 35. 36. 37. 38. 39. 40. 41. 42. 43. 44. 45. 46. 47. 48. 49. 50. 51. 52. 53. 54. 55. 56. 57. 58. 59. 60. 61. 62. 63. 64. 65. 66. 67. 68. 69. 70. 71. 72. 73. 74. 75. 76. 77. 78. 79. 80. 81. 82. 83. 84. 85. 86. 87. 88. 89. 90. 91. 92. 93. 94. 95. 96. 97. 98. 99. 100. 101. 102. 103. 104. 105. 106. 107. 108. 109. 110. 111. 112. 113. 114. 115. 116. 117. 1 Okay, so how many people in assisted living would join a club as virtual members if the club set up a virtual link for them? And that was from Larry to Larry.
So Larry, I think it would really depend on their accessibility to technology. So if they're in an assisted living facility and they had access to technology where they could get on a Zoom call and they could watch someone put together something like that, then the sky's the limit. By the same token, it doesn't have to be just one assisted living facility. It could be more than one, or it could be a combination of people in that facility and others in the community. So that falls into that area club really easily.
Okay, I don't have any other chat questions right now, so just go ahead and ask your questions.
I was just going to add that it could also be a satellite of an existing club.
Correct.
That way they don't have to, a Golden K requires you to have officers and do the monthly reports. So the satellite is quite often a better way to go.
Absolutely. And I'll echo what BK said. I have for years, BK, I constantly wear Kiwanis garb, even to the grocery store. I have a Kiwanis polo shirt on. And when I leave a Kiwanis meeting, I have a badge on because I want somebody to see that badge and ask me or tell me that their child got a scholarship from Kiwanis or that they went to my pancake breakfast or something like that. So I agree with you. Brilliant.
I think BK has a comment.
I do. In answering, we have a real good prime example in the Southwest District, what you can do with assisted living. And they're probably the most impressive example, and that's Friendship Village out in the Tempe area. You've got a high rise there of people that want to give back and want to do things. And they're all residents of the same facility. They've joined a club. They show up at conventions. They raise money, and they have their meetings there. I've attended their meetings. I've done presentations. It's probably the keystone example of what you can do with assisted living, what you can do in a single unit and get people put together. It's almost to the point that if you're living there and you don't belong to Kiwanis, you're not part of one of the most active groups in that entire establishment. And so they're strong in numbers, and anybody that's attended there, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm sure that you've seen them at conventions. They attend them all.
So Scott types in that Friendship Village rocks. We have a question from Lori. How about holding a Kiwanis night and have tables with the service projects and member education and opportunities? Invite people that you would like, that you think would be great Kiwanians. Also, is there a Kiwanis newsletter template that clubs can use?
I don't know who wants to answer that one. Brad, you want to talk about the templates that are available on the KI website for newsletters and things like that?
Actually, if we've been gravitating away from the old IT system onto the new, so any clubs can get a hold of the new format, which has the very same sort of approaches that you can do there. So there are templates for all sorts of newsletters and things. If you're just looking for, some publicity materials, you're best to go into the KI website and type in brand book, BRAND book, and you'll find all sorts of resources, ready-made press releases, just fill in the blank. You really don't have to do much work. You just need to find what you want.
And I will tell you, that's how we all cheat when we do our PowerPoints and our presentations, is we go into the brand book and we pull down stuff off the brand book and we make it our own to go with what we're presenting on.
I send that brand book out probably twice a year. That is the best resource anybody can have to properly brand Kiwanis. It gives you all the best logos. It's super easy to use. Go to Kiwanis.org. Upper right-hand corner, it says member services, I believe. Click that. Scroll down to about the bottom third of the page, and it has logos. And if you go in there, you get the brand book, you get all the logos. Whoever brought that up, that's awesome. Thank you. That's my best resource in this world. What is the annual percent increase in club membership goal for the Southwest District? It's going to be a Governor Don question, I believe.
Yeah, this would be one for Governor Don, I think.
And it's not a percentage, it's a membership number.
Before I answer that, it goes to one of my points I was going to talk about later. And that's one thing that is still our Achilles heel in the Southwest District is clubs below charter strength. Now we've come down, we're at 24 clubs for 146. So we're really, I got 2 lieutenant governors on tonight that I know what's going on in their areas. So they're, so we're talking 22, maybe 120. But what I think I signed up for is everybody to have a net gain of at least 10 to 20%. Looking back, I was fortunate enough, I wrote Renee Booker and asked for a spreadsheet on how we looked the last 10 years. Well, she sent me the last 20 years. And so I was really amazed. We've kept going down, down, down. And I think one of the goals I've had this year is try to build up our membership team so we can at least have an effort in gaining new members. Now I'm looking at a guy that I talk to all the time, Clint Fontaine. He has a unique ability to recruit new members. And one thing he does that I really like, he does the orientation prior to them becoming members. Because I think sometimes we don't educate the people we're bringing in soon enough, and they get in and they don't want to do this, they don't want to do that. And I think what Clint does is brings that forward and they understand what their role is. Now he's taken Patsy Junction from 1 to 14. So he told me they'll be at charter strength by the end of September, and I think they'll make it well before that. But each governor puts in what they should do. What I'd like to see it when we were big, we were over 2,000. I'd like to get us up to at least 3,000. I think I put, for my goal was 400 new members. And you'll say, well, that's impossible. Well, I don't think it's impossible because we were 172 short in under charter strength. And then last year we lost 161 people. So we need more people to do more things for kids. So my goal, I refined it, was 400 new members. And that's a tough goal. I understand that, but it's something we need to at least shoot for. And that leads me into something else. I know some of you, I know Kathleen does. We sit on, and I know Chuck does too. We sit in on Let's Talk with Sue Peterson. And there was a young lady, Wendy Frazier, was on from P&W. And she talked about, do I matter? I mean, I had a guy join our club and we put a guy in as a sponsor. Then the guy called me months later, he decided to quit. Well, the sponsor didn't do anything. And I didn't even know about it. And so why am I here? What is your purpose of your club? Are we giving a new member a sense of belonging? And sometimes good example, we didn't give that guy a sense of belonging because we didn't talk to him. And I know Betsy mentioned this and BK mentioned it too. When I first came in, I had a former lieutenant governor was my sponsor. The first thing he said to me, you're going to the board of directors. So by the time I become president, vice president, treasurer, and all that, I knew how the Kiwanis Club of Sierra Vista at least worked. So I know if you don't have times, and we're trying to get younger people, I mean, I understand they can't be there, but like Betsy said, I learned a lot going to that board of directors for 1 year. So I was ready by the time Roseanne tried to train me as a secretary. So, you just got to keep educating yourself. And BK, I know in his background and my background too, there's one word that I learned in 30 years in the Army: flexibility. And I think that in itself, where we don't attract a lot of young people, is they go to a club and they want to sing and do all this stuff, and young people don't want to do some of that stuff, and we won't change stuff. And I'll give you a good example. We got a young member in, I don't know how old she is. She's a lot younger than me, so she's young to me. Of course, I thought Betsy was not even 30 yet, so, but she sat there in her first meeting, first time I ever met her, we were discussing something, and she had a great idea that none of us had even thought of. So I think it's key that we get younger to bring in more better ways of doing things. Okay. And then,
Don, may I ask a question? I'm from Las Vegas, New Mexico.
yes, sir.
Our club is pretty much sort of holding its own, but boy, we're struggling. But we find that our competition is not necessarily, any particular economic group or any particular age group or whatever. We find that one of our strongest competition is the other service clubs in our community that are also digging really, really hard to preserve their membership. Rotary and another Kiwanis club in the morning. And that is a real struggle for us because we don't want to stomp on their potential. And we try to do what we can in terms of connecting and joining with other projects and so forth that they're involved with. But at the same time, it seems like in a small community like ours, everybody is digging to try and maintain that sense of balance and that we all desire in order to be able to function. So I don't know how we really I don't know how we start to address that in a positive community sort of way.
Okay. Anybody?
I can answer that. So I have been a Rotarian and a Kiwanian at the same time. And I often go into a community and I go meet with the mayor, I go meet with somebody at a high level and or superintendent, and they say to me, well, I'm glad you're here, but I'm a Rotarian. And I automatically, and Chuck Glitz has been out there in the field with me. What do I do, Chuck? I stick my hand out and I shake their hand and I say, thank you for your service. Because there is room for everyone. What you need to find out is who fits which organization. I've been in a community where there are 3 different Kiwanis clubs in South Georgia. And each particular Kiwanis club had something to offer to a different faction or different type of person. So it's identifying, Patrick, identifying those individuals that would best suit your club or that your needs and your interests and your projects are going to appeal to them the most. And I will tell you, I am blessed. I live in a community where our Lions and our Rotary and our Chamber and our Kiwanis Club, we're all very, very good friends. And we all cross over somewhere. Most of all, we all cross over in the Chamber. And I just think that it's not like it used to be when I first joined Kiwanis Club, where if you were a Rotarian, you were Kiwanian, you never hung out together. I think we're seeing less of that. And I'm certainly glad we do, because I think all the service organizations have something very positive to offer, that let's just make your club and your organization a club that people want to belong to.
BK?
Let me give you a comment. You have an advantage. I've been to Las Vegas, and the advantage you have is that, as you described, you're a small community. Most of the people. You have a secret there that we do not have in Phoenix. You don't have it too much in Tucson or any of the other major cities. And you can either get a member that's in communication in the media, or at least get them to come to your service projects, and you can start to get photos and articles put into the media, which we don't stand a chance of doing hardly, and start advertising. And I use that word very loosely, advertising. Promoting is what I'm really trying to tell you. Promoting your club, promoting what you do. People see that, it'll spark that interest. They'll remember reading about it, seeing about it, and make sure the picture that you show is in street cleanup. Don't have a whole bunch of people standing there with pickup sticks and garbage bags. Show something that's going on, show what you're doing, and make it an interesting photo, not a posed group photo. And you will get people calling you and saying, hey, how do I belong? How do I get involved in this? It looks interesting to me. And for us to try to do that here in Phoenix or any other major city is very, very challenging unless you do it in a small community paper that is a subsection of Phoenix, but you won't get in the main paper.
Great, thank you.
Or on TV.
Hey, Clint, can I get you to talk about how, I've mentioned how you do things. Could you go in a little more depth? You just muted yourself. You're muted.
Oh, there we go. Well, I don't have any secrets at all. It's basically, the key word is ASK, ask. And I also, I was telling Don this, that I took stock of the talent that we had in, I'm in 2 clubs. And I took stock of the talent that we had in the clubs. And then I started looking for the talent that I'd like to have in the clubs. And it's kind of a business approach where I'm almost like I'm hiring people. And so I'll seek out, you know, certain individuals that I know, and or I'll ask somebody that I know, somebody that's in the club, who do you know? I mean, it's just referrals is what it is. And I come from a sales background, and I've lived off of referrals for many years. And so for example, I would ask Don, who do you know that's an attorney? And I think every club should have an attorney in it, by the way. And anyway, it's there's really no secret. It's plowing a field and planting seeds, and as Don mentioned, that the Apache Junction Club was essentially down to 1 member, and I had a couple of superstars that each one of them knew about half the town of Apache Junction. Both of them are in the club now. And so growing has been a lot easier there than it has been in my other club, the Downtown Mesa Club. So I don't know if that helped, but thanks, Don.
Okay, Clint. You know, one thing, listen to everybody here, and sitting in this position, I told all the lieutenant governors I did not have all the answers. And I don't think there's one way to address membership other than what Clint said, is you got to ask. If you don't ask, they're not going to probably join. And the biggest challenge here in Sierra Vista is, I'm in the morning clubs. Most of us are retired military. At the noon club, I'm just trying to think. They don't have as many retired military as we do in our club, but they've got a lot more women than what we do, and they do a great job. So one thing I might add, looking at Kathleen, when we went to Tularosa, what we did, we had we're doing that in Benson too, is we go talk to somebody that's on our list, and then the next question before we leave, the last question is, do you have anybody that you think would like to join the Tularosa Club? And we said, and then we went and looked at and talked to those people. And of all the places I've been, in Tularosa, there was not one person we talked to that I did not want in the club. They were all that positive and all wanted to help the kids. And that's what it's all about. And that's what we're trying to do in Benson now with the service leadership programs, because we got a lot of schools, good athletes down there. They won the 2AA baseball championship. So, you know, there's a lot of programs, a lot of schools that Kiwanis can help if we get in. I've talked to the mayor. I'm waiting for a call to go talk to them at one of their city council meetings. I've got a note into the chamber. We did the chamber mixer, and they're gonna get back to me. We're gonna go down there and talk to them. But I'll say again, there's not just one thing about membership. If you just stick on one thing, you probably won't be very successful, but you will not be successful if you don't ask. Anybody else got a comment on that,
So,
BK?
real quick from the chat, Karen posted an excellent comment, which is, if your Kiwanis Club does not have someone do your newsletters or the website, be sure to see if any of your key clubbers would want to volunteer and get some service hours. Brad said that's an excellent point. They can do that. I've posted 3 things in the chat for everybody. The first one is, if you fill that form out, Kiwanis International will send you a club brochure. And the last time I saw it, it had an application on the back page, and you get the first 50 for free. The second one was a resource page. And the third one is an actual application that you can download. It's got the wrong logo on it. I know I yell at everybody about this. Forgive me this one time. And Betsy, what are your children's names? Those two are just cutie pies.
This is Ellie and Ian, and they have been wanting to say hello. You guys can say hi now. You're unmuted. No, they won't say anything. Ellie,
No,
what
they
do you
won't
Hi.
say anything.
Hi. Hi. I'm looking for Daddy and Mommy's phone.
see when Daddy's gonna be home? Apparently, I'm not very fun when I'm in a meeting.
And Governor wanted BK to say something, I believe.
Yes.
I was just going to respond to what was just said. And I could give you the analogy. If you're going to have a party at home and invite your friends or somebody over, you think you'll just go ahead and leave things as they are? And if you got a mess there, let them come on in? Probably not. You'll take the time to do a little bit of house clean, a little bit of organizing. And I'm not saying trying to show any fault or blame or point any fingers, but look at your club, look at your meeting, look at your service project and say, is everything there welcoming and what you want to reflect to somebody coming in? And if it's not, you need to discuss it, make some comments, make some alterations, make some changes, and be more adaptable to receiving potential new members. Because if you're not comfortable reviewing where you meet, where you do the service, and you have questions, what do you think somebody else outside is going to have?
Don, Chris from Scottsdale McCormick, a quick word of advice to not make the same mistake our club made. And following up on what BK said, obviously any speaker you have is likely going to be a prospective member, but let the person who invited that speaker dictate the strategy on membership with that person. We had 2 or 3 members that every time we'd have a speaker would joke with them about joining the club throughout the meeting and really make them uncomfortable and put them on the spot. And it ended up hurting our chances to get that person to eventually join our club. So just coordinate a more cohesive membership promotional effort through the person who invites your speakers in, instead of just bombarding them during your meeting about, hey, you really need to join our club.
Chris, thank you, because I agree at 200% on that, because we had a council lady come to our club one time, and her husband was the money guy, and they asked her to join the club. This has been years ago, and she was a little uneasy, and then she finally said yes. Well, I called her that as soon as I got home. I called her and I said, Carol, you did not want to join our club, did you? She said no. But she felt so uneasy, like you said, Chris, that she said yes, but she really meant no. And you gave good advice too, Chris. Whoever invites that person obviously knows them a little better than we do. But if they come back a couple times, I'll try to get over and talk to them too, but no pressure. And so that's good comment, Chris. Thank you. BK, excellent comment from you. Anyone else got anything to say? Chuck, you're sitting there. If you get elected international vice president, you'll become a politician too.
Sure, I'll never be a politician.
Amen. Who?
But
It looks like
I will say
Elizabeth
to
has.
you, I will say to you, never say never. We were up in Chicago just recently opening clubs with the II district. And my wife, and I can take zero credit about this, but my wife and another member went in to talk to the chamber CEO to ask her to join. In doing so, they so enthralled her that she didn't want to join the club they were asking her to join. She wants to open a club using their Latin chamber members. So we went to open 5 clubs in Chicago, and we're getting a bonus club out of that because of that conversation and that connection that my wife made with the CEO of the Latin Chamber. So never say never on asking.
I think Elizabeth has raised her hand.
Yeah, all right, thank you. I just wanted to throw out there that the satellite club that BK was talking about here in Levine, we started out with 7 members and we just got another 5 this Saturday. So we started doing, first of all, was reaching out to people and invite them to come to my home, have a breakfast on Saturday mornings, talk about Kiwanis and the purpose for it and what our goals and visions would be here in the Levine area as a satellite from the Club of Phoenix. So far it's been going really well. We're all women now, and the husbands are involved doing things. But what's been interesting, first of all, as we got started, we started talking about picking kind of specific goal areas for our projects. So the ones that we've come up with were foster care, which is huge. Foster care to include both children that were abused children and neglected children, and then the other one is special needs kids. So by having that focus, people that are in the community that have either got children or they know somebody that has disabilities or they're in foster care. So at this time, we already have 4 parents that have disabled children. We have 6 of us, including me, that are former foster kids. And then we have 2 foster mothers and another one that is adopted foster kids. So by getting people with like interests and like ideas and background, it's been nice. So we're getting a word out to people that we have kind of specific visions and goals for this particular group. And so we're hoping to grow fast and be able to do things. And we're joining the Levine Community Action Council starting on Wednesday for meetings for planning for our community down here to what we can do for service projects and how we can get into the schools and do action clubs and key clubs. So, just having it really goal oriented and having specific things has really helped, I think, a lot so far.
Thanks, Liz. I think BK and I could come up with a lot of adjectives to describe what Liz has meant to the Southwest District. She's a superstar. Anyone else got any comments before I just close real quickly?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
The nice gentleman who said such nice things about Friendship Village, may I have his name?
BK.
BK.
It was BK?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's a great club you have. It's a great place.
Well, I have to laugh when the young lady talked about getting people to join the club. We're an older group, much older group.
I know it well. Thank you. You're a real tribute to the Southwest District.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I want to thank all the guest speakers tonight. I appreciate all your comments. Any final words, Kathleen, Tony, anybody?
I think Erica had a comment, Don.
Erica's probably just gonna pick on me. I don't know.
Well, and then she's my new best friend.
No, I was gonna say, also don't underestimate the kids' ideas for service projects and stuff, because the community garden that we started from a key clubber. who had an idea, and we basically came together with Tony, Carolyn from Buckeye, Kiwanis, Litchfield Kiwanis, and also Mary, the Lieutenant Governor. And he just wanted to have a community garden. He wanted to feed, people in need. And that was an idea he came up with. And he's actually 18 and he's got about 5 members that are waiting to join. So never underestimate the youth, bringing in those people that you need for your clubs. And just be genuine. They can, smell a mess a mile away. So don't try to coddle them or anything like that. Just be you. Just be genuine. Just be desire to serve, and they'll show you. I mean, I've seen it myself. I'm from Alabama, and my service club did over 5,000 hours in 1 year with just you. So they will impress you if given the opportunity. So don't underestimate the youth. That's all I wanted to say.
I have a question for Carrie Pietro, if I may.
Go ahead, Larry.
Carrie, how many of your people are Zoom members? And did you have much difficulty getting members of your community to use Zoom?
Yes, there are quite a few people that are really good, would make wonderful members, and they just have no idea how to use a computer.
Okay, but you do have a fair number that do use Zoom, though?
Yes, yeah, about 20, 25 of us.
Okay, was it uncomfortable or difficult getting them set up on Zoom?
No, because they joined each other. That helped a lot. One lady didn't know what to do, so she sat with another lady who knew what to do and that kind of thing. So we have a little nucleus of people that know what they're doing on the computer, and that helps.
There you go. You just answered the question. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Larry, I use my grandkids, 9 and 10 and 11. They know how to use Zoom better than me, so I just ask them.
Well, that goes back to what happened when I first saw Nintendo with my nephews and my son. The next thing I knew, we were all equal because they were teaching me how to play Mario Brothers.
I remember those days too. Any
That
final
was
comments for
amazing.
anybody? I'm waiting for Mary to grow liver and onions, Erica, so she can feed Lori and me, because there's very few people like liver and onions.
Excuse me, that's us.
Okay.
Thank you,
Okay,
Larry.
well, thanks everybody
Yay,
for attending
Larry.
tonight. Thanks again to all the
Yay.
guest speakers. Have a good evening.
Say bye-bye. Say
Bye.
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 Stay safe.
Thank you all. Stay safe.
Can we stop?
Bye.
Okay. First check. Everybody's leaving.
Nope, now
You,
it moves. Now
you
it moves.
scared everybody away, Dawn.
I know.
We didn't even plant any onions. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So that's
Next
a good comment by Erica on the young people, because they can bring in people too. I tried that. We had 1 year, I think we got 1 or 2 members out of it by having a get together with, since I've been a Key Club advisor, we just had all the parents come over there and we had a few join. So that I'm gonna try that again this year when we try to start up again. Okay, everybody.
So Sharon, real quick, I will, it takes a little bit for the video to process. I'll add it to our Google Drive and I will just email it to everybody who gave me their email address. So it'll probably be about half hour or so before it's ready to go.
Thank you so much, because my president-elect and head of membership couldn't make it tonight. So thank you so much, Ken.
I think this is a good meeting. I think everybody got a lot out of this meeting, so I'm happy to share it. No problem.
Yeah.
Well
I
done.
never heard of the brand book. We could be using that all this time.
What's that again?
The brand book?
Brand book.
I never